Hello everybody, this is Derek. Today I'm going to be installing the Fluidmaster Duoflush complete fill and dual flush conversion system. I've got a leak on my toilet. The overflow won't shut off, so it's time. The guts have been replaced on the toilet one time, probably 7 years ago. And the toilet's 15 years old. So we're gonna unbox this and we'll see what all the parts are. Alright, so I've got it all unboxed. It starts, it's got a dual action handle. The one I got goes up for half a flush, down for full flush. And then it's got the fill valve. This will replace the fill valve that's in the toilet presently. This part right here is what's leaking on mine. I can't get it to stop filling after the toilet's shut off. But we have really hard water, so I'm guessing it's just all gunked up. The next piece is this unit. This is the actual Duoflush valve. This will end up going on the top of this. There's some arrows that line it up. So it'll sit on there like that once we get it on. But we'll see how that goes when I get there. In this bag here, it's got the refill clip, which will hook on the refill tube going down to the tank. A couple of lock nuts. That goes on the fill valve. Nope. Well, that, I don't know if I'll have to use that since my water line already has one. This will be the part that goes under there and connects it to the actual tank. That's all the pieces. Not too many pieces. We'll go in and get a shot of the toilet now before I tear it down. And I'll take some pictures as I'm doing it. It's really tight space in there, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to get the camera to show how I'm doing it, but I'll try to document it the best I can so you guys can decide if you guys are able to do this or not. We'll see you in a minute. Alright guys, well, I've made it back into the bathroom. As you can see, it's a little tight in there with the cabinet right above it. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to put the camera in there while I'm fixing it, but I've already shut off the water down there at that valve. But if you don't have that valve, which some of the older houses don't, you can always shut off your main water where the water comes into the house. Fortunately, I've got this valve right here, so I shut it off and I flushed the toilet one time and voila, it got rid of all the water. I do have a turkey baster if I do need to suck out some water, but I think I'm just going to let it, or well, we'll see. But we'll start dismantling. Looks like that flapper is like rotten. Definitely time. This will be a good update for this toilet. First thing I'm going to take off is this, so I can take that flapper out. And then the second thing I'll be taking out is the old fill valve and the old float. Pop that cap right there will just pop right off. And that's the fill tube. This is what's leaking when I leave it. When the water's on, this just continuously runs, so there's something wrong inside of this old valve. So we'll just get it pulled out of there, and I'll show you a few shots here as we go. Oh, I guess before I let you go, I did grab a few things. There's a turkey baster, some towels, and a set of vice grips in case I need to get the fitting down under the toilet if it's too tight. The only thing else you'll need is probably a little bucket. I'm just going to use some Tupperware containers to put under there, catch any dripping water. I'll give you a few shots here as I get stuff torn apart, and we'll see you in a few minutes. Alright, well, I got my camera on the tripod and I just closed the tripod legs and I was able to get the camera back in here. Hopefully I don't bump it as I'm tearing into this. But first thing I'm going to do is take off this, the old handle, which this is reverse threaded compared to a normal nut. But just follow the threads, you can tell. I need to go ahead and pop the old guy out of there. I'm gonna have to disconnect this. And that just slide right out of there. Let me just go ahead and throw that in the trash. That's disgusting. And the next thing will be to pop this hose out. And then I believe I'm going to pop that out for now. I'm not sure if I'm going to need that. I don't think I do. And then next is to go under here where the fitting is and go ahead and loosen that. I've got my towels set up back here because this is where you'll lose some water. So this is where you'll need your vice grips as well. Too bad I don't think you can see back over there. But there's just a big lock nut that holds this filling tower to the actual bowl of the toilet itself. Once I got it loose, I'll just undo it, try to catch what little bit of water is still in the line, which it just released, so not too much. And back this all the way off. That drops off. And this should come right out. Oh, there's a little more water. But this goes in right in the toilet too. And be careful, the old gaskets turn into mush, so anything they touch, they leave really black residue. So be careful when you're disposing. So we got all that off. I'm going to go ahead and end up cleaning all this gunk off. Hopefully I can keep it from falling down in the toilet. This flapper was really in bad shape. Well, maybe I'll shut this off and clean everything out and then come back when it's time to install. I'm guessing you guys can figure out how to clean out the inside of that. We'll see you in a few minutes. Alright, so I got all the water out, got everything cleaned up. The main areas you got to clean up are back here and right here, because you're going to be putting this down in that hole, especially since I have the angled piece down there. This piece is going to take that angle out of it. I'm not sure if you can see how it's an angled piece, but I need to take this tape off. I'm going to go down in there, line it up with the angle, and wiggle it down to seat it. That's in there. And just push it down, make sure we got it seated. Definitely feels like it's down in there and seated good. And before I put this part in, this right here is the new flapper. Goes straight up and down, which I bet you that'll increase the water flow from versus the other flapper that has to kind of covers one side of the hole. This will just be, it'll dump all this water that's in this tank at one time without having any restriction on this hole. And next it says to line up the 2 arrows. Sorry the lighting's bad in here. It's hard to do. But here's the arrow right here on the front of it, and there's a yellow arrow on that. So we get in here, line up those 2 arrows, and it just clicks on. And that is it. We're lined up. And that's all on. Next we can, now that that's installed, let me lay this out out of the way. Next is to install the fill mechanism. To do that, we got to put this rubber bushing on first, so that we don't have any leaks. And this is has to be test fit first. See if I can get it threaded up on there. There we go. So we test fit it first. Now that we've got that set in there, we need to make sure that it's 3 inches above the fill tube, the top of this cap, and the white fill tube down right there is what I'm measuring off of. The top of that to the top of this. And it says it requires 3 inches. So take my tape measure, measure off that. Looks like we're about 3 1/4. I'm kind of looking at it at an angle. Let's say 3 1/4. So I don't need to adjust it too much. But to adjust this one, you just rotate clockwise or counterclockwise. So I need to go shorter. So I screwed it in one. We'll see where we're at now. I'm guessing that'll do it. Maybe just a touch more. There we go. Very easy to adjust. 3 inches. There we go. So now we can put on the retainer net. Grab the right one. And this right here is the retainer net, which will screw onto this once it is put down in that hole. Down. Right down there. Hard to get a visual on. This will be one of the spots that there's chances to leak after the installation is complete. So if you have a leak, you'll just end up tightening it up. If it continues to leak, tighten it a little bit more. If it doesn't leak, you're set. So I'm just going to go hand tight for now. I'm going to go ahead and tighten this nut down here, connecting the water supply back to the tank while I'm down here. And I'll check that connection for leaks, which it came with this retainer nut, which I did not need. I just reused the old one off the old water line. Next is to attach this fill line to the overflow tube. looks like it's got a little retainer, kind of a janky little retainer, but it is a barbed end, so it shouldn't come out. Let me just push that in there. Move that retainer clip over that. And then this ends up getting hooked on your overflow tube. Unfortunately, it does not want to spread apart for me to get it down on there. There we go. I'm not sure which way will be the best way for that. But this is a little adjustment. This is the way to adjust how long the fill lasts, because you want the bowl to be filled at the same time as the tank. So if the tank takes a lot longer to fill than the bowl, you want to run less water to the fill tube, because the bowl is going to fill quite a bit faster. So that's actually a nice way to save some water, because if this is still running and spraying into your tank or into your bowl, all that water is going to be going down the P-trap, right down the drain, whereas this allows you to make them fill so they stop at the same time, and that's pretty handy. It's a pretty smart feature. Alright, next step now will be to put the handle back on. Which this one comes with a little rubber gasket, which it works. It might work in my toilet. Nope, I don't need it. Ooh, well, that's a snug fit. So we're just gonna work that in. And then put the retainer nut on. And this is reverse threaded from normal, which no big deal. Now we've got this, which looks like that's what clips the two together, is pushing this top part. Sorry, it's hard to get in the camera shot. Push that. I believe this is supposed to hang vertically. Yeah, I think that's our connection. Yeah, I can hear it. It actually lifts the plunger. So it's just a little cable. So full flush, half flush. Very neat. Now I would say it is time to fill the tank up. Debating I might end up taking this off and cutting a little bit of it down. That just seems way too long. So just loosen that retainer. Slide that thing up a little bit. Pop this guy out. And then we'll maybe, I don't know why it needs the retainer. It doesn't want to let go without the retainer. Alright, so we got that. I don't know if it's going to make it any much better. There's not much room. I'd say I could at least lose a couple inches. off of it. I'll put that back in. Slide that back down. And we'll fight putting this on there one more time. There, went in much easier that time. So now how this works is you push down and roll it towards the end, and it will restrict the flow, so it will slow the tank or the bowl filling down so that they end at the same time. That's pretty handy. Alright, well, looks like it's time to turn the water back on. Let me give one more little crank on this. This is the water line. Get it seated on that well. Seated on that well, that's good and hand tight. And then easy way to check for leaks is to take a paper towel and just touch it up against something, and if it comes back wet, you know there's a little bit of moisture. So I'll just take it around my fitting, which there's the fitting. See how it came back? So I'm gonna have to tighten that. Just another crank, see if that takes care of it. So to raise the bowl here, or to raise the level of the water, you've got this little dial, and you just crank it the way you want it to go. I need to raise the level up, so I'm screwing it clockwise, and it's pulling it raises the float up, which means it'll require more water to fill the tank. See how that just raised it up a good inch, inch and a half, which I think it went about a quarter inch too far, so I'll do counterclockwise 2 turns, and I think we're set. Now it says to set both of these to max. Both of them are set to max, and then we're going to try a half flush first. It says to start with 3 squares of toilet paper and lift up for the half flush. Which seemed to be more than enough water. Yep, I'm going to have to leave it on max for the half flush. Let's see how it does on the tank fill here. Well, and there we have it. I think we've got it all figured out. Half flush is working great. Perfect. Well, next thing is to put the lid back on and test it out for a few months and see how it goes. Installation was fairly easy. I wouldn't tackle this unless you're a somewhat handy person. Chance of some water getting everywhere, but that's about it. Besides that, it was pretty easy to do. Only time will tell if it works for me. And so maybe I'll update this in a few months and see how it goes. But all in all, pretty impressed. I like it. I like that it saves water at the same time in multiple ways, and you can even adjust it to save even more water if possible. I guess I would say I'd recommend it right now, but we'll see in a couple months if I can say the same thing. I'll let you know if I have any issues with it. Well, in conclusion, I'd like to say that the Fluidmaster Duoflush was relatively easy to install. I think most anybody could do it unless you're not handy at all. As to how well it works, I don't know yet. Seems to be working just fine on the half flush and medium and full flush. I think what I'm going to do is wait a couple weeks and get a different brand and try it out on my other toilet, and then I can kind of do a side-by-side, because there was some stuff on this Fluidmaster I wasn't a big fan of, the way the bottom plate attached into the drain, but we'll see if it works. And it was only 25 bucks, so that's only a few dollars more than a regular regular replacement system anyway. So we'll just see how this one goes. Well, thanks for watching. Leave me a comment if you have any questions. Let me know.